Hello, and welcome to PremiumBytes, where we shine a light on the unsung world of insurance technology leaders. I am Sudhar one of your co-hosts, and with Samir Ahmed, our other co-host, we're here to have meaningful conversations about the evolving technology landscape inside the insurance industry. Let's acknowledge it. Being an insurance firm CIO or Chief Information Officer is one of the toughest leadership roles in today's world. You've got a risk-averse mindset baked into the very fabric of the industry, a legacy estate that must complement the modern tech, and a talent crisis from both the retiring side and next-gen recruiting side. And then you got the slower pace of innovation. We see it because we're right there in the trenches with you as consultants day in and day out. Our mission is to deep dive, have conversations that carry substance, offer practical insights, and help you validate and navigate the relevant challenges of being an effective CIO in the insurance sector. So thank you for joining us on this adventure. Let's jump right into our next conversation.
Hey Samir, welcome back.
Hey Sudhar, yeah, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's your spring going?
Good. Spring is coming to a close. Summer's knocking on the door here, and enjoying the nice, transition into that weather. Been on the conference circuit as well, so we can talk about some of that too.
Yeah, it's good to be again back on for our next episode here after the last one on the SaaSocalypse and the talent war and a lot of different things coming together. I think I'm excited about this one. But let's spend a minute. I think you had been to a couple of these conferences / events, and clearly there's one topic that probably is at the top of the mind at the agenda as well as the audience. Is it?
Yeah. So look, last episode, right? We were reflecting on the SaaSocalypse, right? That valuations of software companies, SaaS companies, have had taken a hit. Why? Because AI was wreaking havoc with revenues or future predicted earnings, and we were sort of waiting to see what would happen with insurance companies, right? How affected they would be, either as consumers of those SaaS, companies, or the same underlying phenomenon, right? So at the spring events, I saw a change in sort of the conversation from the stage and panels. Last year, even towards the end of the fall, there was still camps of companies that were wondering, how much of an impact will AI have on our business, and how much of it is just sort of wait and see and let the dust settle, and then we can figure out what we want to do. But this year, it's really changed, and almost everyone has been talking in terms of, if we're not doing something with AI, we're falling further and further behind. We better be doing something. But interestingly, right, that's only as far as the conversations, at least on public stages, has gone. It doesn't mean, behind the scenes that's the state, but just in terms of the public conversation. No one's yet talked about, this is what we've done and this is some outcome that we've reached. It's still either, we should be doing something, or we're about to do something, or this is what we started doing. No one's yet talked about outcomes in particular.
Gotcha. I think I in my mind, I think about it in two ways, right? I think everybody is using a chat-based interface to have conversational AI on their pecking order. But I think people are almost like, taking that as a given and say, okay, now that I have it, what am I doing, and what kind of outcomes are we generating for the organization? I think I think people are a little bit experimenting, if I can say. which I think leads us to the topic for today. I think when you and I thought about what could be more relevant in the context of what you observed at the conference, I think we alluded to the fact that between the two of us, I think you are leveraging AI and assisted agents and coding assistants and those kind of newer sophisticated AI features in the spectrum of AI software. As an architect, as a tech lead in your projects in a hands-on fashion within the insurance context. But I also know that you have also changed your perception of what it is and what it can do and cannot do. And so I think I wanted to start off by saying, where were you a year or so ago to where you are and what you do with it today?
Yeah. So it's definitely near and dear to me because of sort of my day job and all that as a technologist working in insurance. And I'm probably gonna just stay away from more general, what are we doing with AI in insurance business processes, and want to really spend time on sort of back to that. What was the underpinnings of the SaaSocalypse, right? Software development being affected by coding assistants and AI agents, and let's call it even up until this time last year, or maybe even into sort of the fall, I was still at not quite ready to declare that we've had a fundamental change in how software development is done and conducted. It was infusing benefits of AI into the processes. But I would say somewhere around Thanksgiving, right? The release of the models from initially Anthropic. Well, it started with actually Chinese companies, OpenClaw coming out, and that forcing the hand of companies like Anthropic and OpenAI to do more with their agentic capabilities. But in any case, right, models released by Anthropic first and then OpenAI on the heels of that, right, really something changed there that is almost like a step function change. It wasn't this gradual buildup. And so coming out of that, right, we've done some experiments, and then actually this year, even starting in January, we've had projects for large, Fortune 500 carriers. And I personally have been involved in 2 efforts, and I'm very bullish on the impact on software development.
I would say, I think for our audience, they probably know you as a very hands-on techie. And like we have positioned myself more as an insurance, enthusiast, less of a techie, maybe a little bit of architecture background. But I also know that you, as an individual from my past life working together, I think you have a pretty high bar and a high standard and a high expectation. So what somewhat warms my heart a little bit is that I think if you are bullish, that means that these tools, maybe not fully there yet, but at least leaping forward to clear that high hurdle. Would you say that?
Yeah, look, I will just sort of rest my outlook on actual experience and outcomes, right? It's not an expectation that something ought to happen. It's the lived experience, right? That's what I'm going off of, and that's what has changed my sort of outlook.
Got it. Now, so let's double click on it. Our audience primarily is insurance technology executives, maybe middle managers, and many of them are probably in the same boat as you are. Some of them are probably experimenting. Some of them are maybe a little bit farther ahead, and some of them are behind. So if you can unpack this a little bit and say, okay, what does this actually look in practice? Like a few years ago, a team would be a lot of people, right? Developers, analysts, etc. So I won't go into what we all know as what was always the case, but how does it look today?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the context of enterprise software development, which is what it looks like in insurance companies, right? Large projects typically break down into few tracks, right? And each track is what we would somewhat describe as a cross-functional delivery team, right? It can take a scope, a unit of functionality, and deliver that start to finish. So you need all the roles to, clarify what is it that we're trying to do, what the specifications and requirements are, what's a good technical design, then in the implementation of it, and the verification of it, and then on towards sort of the change management and release of software to end users' hands. And each of these pieces, right, is an element of specialization, and you have roles around them. So you've got your subject matter experts and your business analysts that sort of translate what we do and what we would need from software. Then you get to your architects and technical leads that spearhead the solution and the design. You got your engineers that participate in that, but their major role is in the implementation, writing the code. Then you've got your quality analysts that are part of the verification, and then you've got your release engineers and your site reliability engineers, right, that make sure things are functioning and humming along, right? So at this stage, what has changed for me, and in a couple projects that I've participated in and relaying my experience from, that some of these roles that are facilitating the process are no longer necessary. So, for example, as a business analyst, right, the role I don't see being needed, and on the teams I'm on right now, we don't have them, right? We have engineers talking to the actual subject matter expert, the end user that is the visionary for what capability they want to see. Then similarly, right, okay, so that expert talks with the architect and the tech lead that can design software. There's no longer the need for, okay, now let the tech lead work with software engineers to go understand and implement. Instead, you work with coding assistant. And just like you would explain your design and your requirements, you explain it to the coding assistant, and then let the coding
I just wanted to pause there and say, 5 years ago, the word coding assistant would still mean somebody human. But I think what you're saying, somewhat with tongue in the cheek, is that today's coding assistant, by default, is not a human.
Yeah,
let's clarify.
For the domain that I'm working in, again, I want to be somewhat careful about generalizing beyond my own experience. I think it is generalizable, but I can only speak to my experience. So in this complex domain that is insurance, it's been highly effective to work in this mode. And then similarly on the verification front, right, that technical lead does not need a team of quality analysts to exercise the software and bring back, here's what worked, here is what did not work. Again, work with the coding assistant that will create repeatable automated tests. And then the coding assistant that's generating the software uses the test that the coding assistant itself created to confirm that the software is working according to spec. So what has become really critical is ability to articulate specifications very well. And then ability to take that and translate it into good architecture and good design. Those are the key fundamental roles right now. Beyond that, leverage coding assistants to do the work.
So in pockets of this value chain of software development, I think there are clearly places where AI assisted tools are accelerating, perhaps, or disintermediating the need for another human being to be that interface, like a business analyst or a tech lead who's delegating work.
I would frame. Sorry, I'm interjecting. I would frame it slightly differently, which is that all of this is converting individuals into leveraged individuals, right? Instead of being an individual contributor, you become a manager of coding assistants, telling them what to do, how to do it, what to produce, and then verifying that it's there. So instead of myself as an engineer working, I now have the ability to convert to a more like a manager, engineering manager, what previously we would call. And instead, what I am managing is the software coding assistants rather than a team of individuals.
Right. Not without the overhead of doing performance management and taking time off at the wrong time, or asking for pay raises for overworking, whatnot. Joking, all of that joking aside, I think the dynamic of an AI assisted development team model clearly eliminates some of the challenges that we might have had in the past, isn't it? Right? Whether the resources are next to you or somewhere offshore, onshore, near shore, wherever they are, I think we used to have, communication challenges, domain knowledges, language issues, and things like that. So I'm assuming like you're able to leap forward through some of that.
Yeah, it's almost like not to take the metaphor too far, but sort of the best of both worlds, right? So the promise of this was you can follow the sun, right? Do work in India, and then do work in Europe, and then do work in East Coast US, and then West Coast US, and then you're to like East Asia, Australia, East Asia, and then you're back. So every hour of the day, it's possible to have something happen, right? So today, your coding assistant doesn't need to eat, does not need to sleep, right? It can just run as long as you have your checkbook open for the token economy.
That's right.
It will run 24/7, right? So that's on the positive side. The challenges, right, that you alluded to, we don't have those, right? Work, in English with the coding assistant, and it understands, and it has enough understanding of the insurance domain that when you talk about concepts like claims and reserves, and maybe on the rating front, you're talking about risk units and coverages and factors. These are not foreign concepts. You don't have to start from the very beginning with the ABCs of that domain and get the engineer to understand. What you're getting is a up-to-speed engineer on the domain in the form of a coding assistant.
You and I have talked about this, I think, briefly in other podcast episodes. I'm not sure if a day will come where, if these generic LLM models will know every domain to the nth degree, or there might be, corporates spinning around. Like, I can imagine a LIMRA or a LOMA, or even Department of Insurance potentially saying, hey, if you really truly want to have an insurance coding assistant, you got to take my coding assistant from me, because those guys are doing generic Me Too insurance SMEs, but we are the official stamped authenticated insurance SMEs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so far, right, we're not at such a stage. I think we can talk about the reasons why, but at the end of the day, right now, the design of an organization, the design of the insurance product, the processes to support them, right, that is still very much a human driven exercise. And sure, can LLMs help with that? Yes, but they are not at the stage of
there
being
yet.
able to design it on their own.
Yeah.
Can they
No, Samir.
regurgitate what somebody else has somewhere documented? Yes, but it
For
comes
sure.
with zero context and limited understanding, if any.
Now, so would you call them as senior developers or assistant developers or junior developers? I think there's a spectrum there. If you or your other human tech leads are considered, call it, senior tech. These are assistant. So is there a distinction that they will remain an assistant and not, I guess, become at least sophisticated enough to replace some of these human roles?
Yeah, so I mean, look, this is a evolving landscape, right? So I can only comment on the experience with the most recent iteration, which happened in around Thanksgiving timeframe, like I mentioned earlier. So this iteration is, in my experience, more like you've got your entry level sort of maybe couple year experience engineers. Again, right? They know insurance, they can understand the domain, but in terms of the quality of software that they produce, they cannot do it independently, right? They would have needed to work with a senior engineer that knows good design, that can do code reviews and give feedback and tell them go improve this part. And that's what our experience on projects is right now. That's the role of the human operating the coding assistant. And maybe quick comment on that part, right? So of course this notion of vibe coding has come up, and up until again this Thanksgiving time frame, there was this notion that yeah, you can quickly spin up software and it will do stuff, but it is not high quality enterprise grade production releasable code. And I would say that that is still the case in a manner of speaking. What is different is that well, when the person operating is a competent engineer, software engineer, himself or herself, just like they would give feedback to somebody that's writing code and saying review it, give me do a code review on my code. You do the same thing, except it was written by the coding assistant. And so you have to resist this temptation of, okay, you gave me a starting point, let me go fix it now. Instead, no, give the feedback to the coding assistant and let it fix its own mistakes. And what you're working with is providing the guardrails around how do you know that it's good, which is in the form of tests.
Testing and some degree of validation and outcome, looking at the outcome and things like that. Now let's touch on the commonly referred weaknesses of at least the language models is the hallucination. How does that play out, and how do you create test cases or guardrails?
Yeah. So two parts to it, right? So one is I think everybody now experiences the ability of these LLMs to produce content, and it is largely sort of accurate in terms of what you ask, you largely get, and the places where there's stuff that is hallucinated, you can catch it and fix it, and or alternatively give it feedback and tell it not to do that, and next time it will pay a little bit more attention or heed your advice. So that's applicable in software as well. The one place where it's different is that our software development languages are much more constrained, right? They're not general purpose languages, right? They are constrained and limited in their expressiveness, and so that limitation also limits the
the hallucination that would happen, right?
the
Or at least you can
variation.
catch.
Correct. The breadth of what something could be hallucinated, right? Because if it hallucinates something, well, it won't compile as code, right? Because it makes no sense, right? So the hallucination shows up in different ways. And, well, we've got techniques for that, right? There's test cases that will tell your code is either producing the outcome or not. And you're taking this non-deterministic process and converting into something that is deterministic. The output is either correct or not correct.
Yeah.
And of course, the gap in there is the gap in how well you've defined the breadth of test cases.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting point, right? I think there are some circles that definitely bring this deterministic versus probabilistic. But I think what you're alluding to is where you need to do a certain activity or a process using a code. You need to deploy a well-written code versus writing a prompt and a model behind it, where it could potentially have a lot more hallucination, because with code you have less and less of that, or even where it does, at least you know exactly where the problem is, right?
Yeah. And one more sort of offshoot of that that's relevant here is in the software development discipline, right? There's this technique of test-driven development, test-first development, and people have generally liked that approach and concept, but not liked the fact that you're spending more time, therefore effort, therefore money, on tests and test case maintenance than on the software development itself. And so people have found ways to limit how much effort goes into that while still getting the value of it. And in that are those gaps, right? That, well, you only have X% of coverage from a testability standpoint. Well, with the coding assistant that don't eat, sleep, have no needs to take breaks, right? That goes away. You can truly be test first, start with the how will you know that software is right, and spend energy on creating that suite of test cases first. Then, okay, now go and make these tests pass.
Yeah.
And turns out coding assistants, AI flavors of them, are very good at it.
At least in insurance, the actuaries are kind of the brain trusts of everything that happens inside an insurance company, right? So from the product definitions to the claims to the reserves and things like that. And a lot of what actuarials does is very algorithmic and very data intensive and very programmatic. And so once again, like we've always said in all of our 33 or so episodes, is that I think if there is one industry that lends itself a lot more natively and naturally to AI, is likely to be insurance, because there's very little that is, yes, there may be some judgment involved at some point, but at least that's after the fact that some programmatic algorithm has run through it, right?
Yeah. I mean, all these aspects are deterministic at some level, and very, very much benefiting from these capabilities.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll make an anecdotal off-the-cuff comment that I was reading an article about somebody who at the same time was a poet and an actuary. And one of his poems reads like, a surety claim is not too far from a verse in the poem. and when I read that, it just made me think that there's probably something that he's saying, that there's some judgment and taste involved in approving some of these claims.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, I do want to bring it back to maybe the last segment here is just two kind of related topics. Is this, is this going to replace junior developers? I think that's the first thing. I think there's a debate there, and then is this cost component of it is right now not a big deal. Nobody talks about it, but is that going to prevent us from even going down this path too far down?
Yeah. So I can speak from experience on one, and the other not quite yet. I can share the experience that is there and available, but a little bit of it is, well, we don't know what we don't know right now, right? So what do I mean? On the will coding assistants, AI coding assistants replace junior software engineers, right? So there's two ways to look at this, and there's some analog that we have, right? So go back to late 80s. Spreadsheets just come about, right? And what used to be long, arduous processes of calculating things by, I want to say hand, but really calculators and paper and pencil and so forth, right? Spreadsheets took care of that. And now you just change a number, the calculation updates real time, right? And what did it do to those people? They didn't just lose their jobs and had nothing to do. It elevated those people into higher order analysts, right? Now they're doing what if scenarios instead of calculating, whatever, one discounted cash flow,
whatever, right?
Instead of doing one discounted cash flow calculation, they could do sensitivity testing by doing 20 of them, by changing, one variable. So, that job function expanded, right? Jobs were created. So you can say, right? Now that you're not doing those calculations by hand, are you less effective at doing those calculations and building on that skill? No. So same thing will happen with software engineers, right? That you will not be coding the way, I learned how to program. It will be different. Exactly how and in what form, we got to see how it unfolds, right? Of course, I have some expectations, but they're just speculation. I don't want to get into that. But I'm not bearish on the profession at all. I just think that it will look different. To your other point, right? It's a very appropriate to spend a little bit of time on this, right? Is this the future of software development? And I will stop short of that. I cannot say that yet. Why can I not say that yet? Because when we're looking at something, right, you've got your cost and benefit equation, and it has to be in balance. And right now, the cost is opaque and highly subsidized, right? No one is paying the true cost of running a coding assistant. The companies like Google and OpenAI and Anthropic, they are subsidizing this through investments that they're making and getting investors to put money into it, right? So what will the true cost be? We don't know yet. So how can you evaluate, is this better or worse than where we are? We can't. What is right in our crosshairs is the benefit side of that equation, and that looks pretty good, right? But will the cost be so high that the ROI is no longer there? In the subsidized rates, it is, but in true cost, we don't know.
Yeah. I think that time will tell, and I think people are already feeling the pain of some of these foundational model providers are already throttling and billing based on token usage and throttling the tokens. And, by default, some of these are designed to spit out more tokens to bill you more as opposed to being less. And so there's some dynamic evolving there where maybe there will be a compromise that will come.
Yeah.
But at least in my mind, I don't know if there's a turning back where we will say, no, we're not going to use AI coding assistants anymore. I think they might become, almost inherent in today when I go into Google Doc and type a word, Google Doc already suggests the next word. So it's almost like AI is embedded. And so I think in any coding environment, I think AI will probably be in the back and nobody will know.
Yeah, very much so.
Right. And then, I was talking to somebody about this and say how electricity and Wi-Fi now is a public good, right? At least in most places, you can just still walk in without paying. And in most places, you can still charge your laptop without paying. And in most places, you can sign up on a Wi-Fi without paying. But who knows? Maybe at some point, AI will be available as a public good. I don't know. That's probably the most contentious argument one can push. But I guess to your point, I think this is all remains to be seen, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it is. Look, we're not there with compute, right? Compute you don't get for free. So will we at some point? Maybe not. And so we can have our own expectations of how it may play out.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think with that we can wrap up. I figured that this would be a topic that will come back, and I would love to hear from our audience if anyone is actively using coding assistants and agentic AI and things like that in their day-to-day jobs, particularly in software design, development, testing, and implementation within the construct of a complex domain like insurance.
Yeah.
Any other comment you want to add, Samir?
No, just actually inviting sort of actual experience, right? Where is the claims adjudication process that was created with this approach? Where is the new rating engine that was created with this approach? Where is the next scoring model that was created with this approach? That's what I'm looking for, people in insurance to declare their wins and, open up the conversation a little bit more.
Yeah. With that, thanks. As always, we look forward to hearing your feedback and conversation in the various forums. Hit us up with a question or a comment, or like us, follow us, and then we'll look forward to speaking to you on the next episode here.
And that's a wrap for today's conversation on PremiumBytes, where we shine a light on the unsung world of insurance technology leaders. Thank you for joining us on this adventure and being part of our community. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and follow us. Until next time, take care.